Hi and welcome back. Thank you for following our YouTube channel and subscribing to us. So today we're going to be talking about the Nikon FM. So Nikon FM was introduced in the late 1970s, and this is one rock solid camera, probably one of my favorite cameras, my go-to camera for when I'm out taking photos, 35mm SLR. This particular camera is really cool because it's fully manual. That's the FM, or fully mechanical on that. And why is that cool? Well, it does take batteries for its light meter, but it doesn't require batteries to function beyond the light meter, which means it drains very little power when you use the shutter. So when you're out taking photos, you don't have to worry about constantly changing your battery, unlike its brother, the FE, which, is an amazing camera. We have another tutorial about it, but that's the real difference between the manual cameras and the electronic cameras, is that it uses way less electricity, and they're very reliable, so if anything happens to the camera, it's easier to fix. Not easy, but it's easier to fix. So let's talk about how to use this camera and why do I love it so much. Well, number one, all Nikons use the F-mount lens, and they're interchangeable, and throughout like the entirety of Nikon SLR, the F-mount up until even now, you could use many different types of manual lenses with this camera, which are readily available. And not only that, but the camera is made extremely well. It's 40 years old right now, and it's still working strong. I don't really have any problems with them when I get them. And it's 35mm film, which is easy to get pretty much everywhere. That being said, let's talk about how to use this camera. First thing, well, when you get 35mm film, like every single film, for those of us who don't really know, it has a film speed. So to change your film speed, which will say on the canister in the box, right, you lift up this ring and then you move the speed, which is right here, to the one that's indicated on the box of film. So, and I use Tri-X 400 because it's such a good black and white film from Kodak. So I usually just set it at 400, but it depends. Then that ASA, or ISO, is the film speed. Now, the lower the film speed, which we could talk about, right, you want brighter outdoor settings, or extremely long times on the tripod. For the higher ISO or ASA speeds, you want to have, you could have like darker indoor settings, right, or nighttime, and it shoots faster. To change the shutter speed, how fast the camera opens and closes, you move this ring, simply move it, as you can see. So 1000 is 1/1000th of a second, really fast, and then you keep on going down like 1 second. Okay, you turn the camera on and off by moving this, so you lock it, right, is red. It won't be able to do anything in your bag, right, but then you want to turn it on, the button will go down. That's the shutter. Press the shutter button, and the aperture is up here on the aperture ring, so that's how big the small hole through the lens is. So 22 is a very small hole. That's like less light, but really good depth of field, so you'll be able to see everything. But then maybe you want a blurry background and you want to take a photo fast of just the subject, so lower ones such as 5.4, 3.5, sorry, 5.6, these will help you to do that. And it's a combination of these two things that will help you set your perfect exposure. This is a very easy light meter, the simplest light meter, right? And basically what it does is, inside the lens, when you look at the photo, there's an area that will indicate, are you a little bit above in exposure, a little bit down, and you want it right in the middle for that LED, or a little bit higher or lower, right? So it's a very simple light meter. So if it goes up, to exposed, if it goes down, underexposed, if it's in the middle, it's just right. and there might be a combination of above and middle, so it's a little bit higher, and you'll get an idea once you use it. So how am I going to use this camera? First, you got to put your film in. How do you do that? So on the left side here, there's a little lock. You press the lock down, and then you pop this open, and when you raise it, the door opens. You put your 35mm canister here, and you move the film along the back carefully, pop the edge in here, and then wind it one time. Maybe shoot it, and then you have it nice and taut. You close the camera, and then you pop this back down. Sometimes you have to move this a little bit to get back down. The camera's light meter will be on when this shutter is moved outwards like this, and you see the red spot. When you're walking around, don't leave your camera like this. You'll drain the battery. You want to move your camera back in, and then move this down so that we don't accidentally press the shutter. And then you just kind of combine your shutter speed with your aperture until you get the right exposure. Now, for those of us who don't know how to do this, I'm going to kind of explain. So let's just say you're focused on shooting something really fast, like a car. Maybe you want to have a high shutter speed. You leave the shutter speed, and then you look at the inside of the lens, and you'll see your light meter, and if it's underexposed, you want to bring the aperture bigger. If it's overexposed, you want to make the aperture smaller, which is bigger numbers. Now, the other way around, let's just say you're taking a portrait or a picture of a flower and you want a blurry background. So you would move the aperture very big and then change the shutter speed according to the light meter. If you want everything in focus in your background, you want a small aperture, and then you change your shutter speed and check the light meter until it's correct. So that's how you use that camera and it'll tell you how many photos you've taken in the frames over here. And you want to advance several times for the first part until you hit 0, and then you're ready to take some photos, because those first parts of the film might be exposed by the light outside. So you could also mount the flash. And you could also hook, there are different types of flash. Sometimes it's just up here. Sometimes you need up here plus a little cable. How do you change your lenses? Like almost all Nikons, there's a button here. You press it, and then you move your lens to the right. Pop it off, okay? What if you want to take a photo, and you can do the same. You hold it down, and then you pop it back on. Just be careful with the lenses, right? Until it clicks, and then we're on, see? What if you want to mount this on a tripod and then get in with your family and take a photo? You can't just press it like that, because it will just take a photo. How do we do that? Well, the timer's over here where my thumb is. You pull the timer down, you crank your camera, do the exposure, whatever you want, depth of field, also the shutter speed, and then you press down this shutter button, and it gives you a timer, and then you can go run into with your family and take a photo or whatever you want on the tripod. And once it clicks, it took your photo. See? One more thing, or a couple more things. So over here, this is depth of field button. So you push this down, and it will collapse the aperture. Some of us are professional, want to see the depth of field through the lens. It makes it small so you can see that. The bottom of the camera, this is where the batteries go. There are two 357 batteries. These are super easy to get at the drugstore, very, very readily available, even at the dollar store. And this over here is a motor, I believe it's a motor mount. So if you don't want to keep on advancing your film, you can buy a motor mount to hook it up. To rewind your film when you're done, so let's just say you have 24 or 36 pictures, you're done. You press this button, hold it down, and then you rewind this film clockwise until it clicks back into the canister, and then you pop it out. Again, to pop out the film, you have to unlock over here and then open. So again, this is one of my personal favorite cameras. This is one of the cameras that I use when I go shooting outside, and I highly recommend it. And Thank you for hopefully following our YouTube channel. The more you subscribe, the better the channel gets, because I can post so many more videos of really cool tutorials. We have an Instagram page at Forward Cameras. We have a Twitter account at Forward Cameras. We have a Facebook Forward Cameras. We also have an Etsy store where we sell a lot of vintage cameras that work Forward Cameras. So please check those out and stay tuned for more videos, and thank you so much for watching our channel.